In this video, we're going to be looking at type in Photoshop. So we're almost done this piece, and all I have to do is add of the heart with the type tool, which is Hotkey T. The thing to remember about the type tool is that unlike all the other elements on this page that needed a layer in order to be created, the type tool will automatically create a layer for you. So I can come down here and let's switch this to white so it's going to be easier to see. These are my point systems, which you've seen this if you worked in Word, which I'm sure you have before, about how big something can go. So obviously 72 point is quite large, where 0.6 is small. And a point is just a size and measurement for type. And you can make it bigger than this, so I could do 500 point type if I wanted to. With my typeface, I can come over here, and I might have some that are different from yours just because of Typekit with Creative Cloud, which if you do own Creative Cloud, you can download several for free with the program. And I can come over here and figure out what type of typeface I want to use to create my message. And then, depending on what typeface you have picked, is how big the family is. And like how I described with Illustrator, a family is if you think about a family reunion and you have your mom and dad, but then you also have cousins and aunt and uncles. So they sort of look like you, resemble you, but they're not quite you. And that's how a family works, where these are, yes, all Avenir, but they're all their individual typeface. So ultralight is one typeface, heavy italic is another, but they all belong in the similar family. So this is a great way to use perhaps a few different typefaces in one piece, but have them all have a similar look, if that's what you're going for. But I might want something a little bit more with a personality. This might not be the best choice, but I'm going to go with it. And so there's two ways you could do this. You can click and drag and make a box that your type will sit in. And you can see that this is quite small, so all I'm doing is clicking and making that bigger, and then we'll come up to 0.72, which is still really small. So let's just highlight that, and all I'm doing is with my arrow keys making that bigger. So you can see I can also type this in. I can get that, and I can keep going. Now usually you could just type in a number and do that. Sometimes Photoshop likes that, other times it doesn't, so you can work with that. So that's one way you can do that. Another way is that you can click and start typing as well. Because I had that set at 3, it already turned to 3. So there's two ways you can work with type. Now, if I come over here, I'm just going to keep one of those. I'm going to come to my A. It's called character. Now, if you can't find that, just like if you can't find anything over here, if you're trying to find something new, it's most likely under window, and then I want to find character. Now, with Illustrator, it is located under type, which is then located in character. So with this, I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to zoom in for you, and we'll discuss what all these things mean. So again, this is the size of the typeface. Here, this is the leading, so I'm going to just hit enter. And this is a really hard typeface to work with, just because it is really scripty. So we'll just go with something like this, so it's a little bit easier to read. What this is, and if you hover over, you'll be able to read what they are, but this is leading. So this is working with the space between the lines of type. So if I go to a small one, it almost crosses over on itself. And I had to push enter to create a new line of type so you can see how that operates. You can do auto, but sometimes you might want it a little bit tighter or have a bit more space to it. But still, this is at 300 points, so 72 still could be quite small. So I'm going to go with auto still, but this is the space between the lines of type, so right here. So with this one, what we're doing is tracking. So that is between the space in the line of type. So not between two lines of type in this. So all these letters will have the same spacing. And there's two ways I can do this. One, I can come down here and I can work here, or I can scrub. And so what that means is that you hover over any of these and you get two pointed arrows. So I can scrub this way, and you can see how much bigger it's gotten, or I can make it quite small, and you see how they're overlapping. So it really just depends on like the type of feel that you want. If the type seems like it's overlapping each other in an awkward way, that you'll want to work with that. And I'll just go back to 0 there. And then if you want one of these are a quick way that you can sort of put a default bold or italic or capitalize on them. If you needed something subscript, so maybe a date, like the 3rd, the RD. If you needed something subscript, maybe in a mathematical equation, underlined, strike through, any of that. Just click on and off to get those to work. And then these are little hotkeys for other things that you can work with down here. Now there's another way you can do that. So you can see this is basically a fake bold, fake italic. You really don't want to use those. You can use small caps or all caps if you want, just depending on your message. But what I would suggest is that if it's a large family, so this one's sort of large, I would then come over here and change it to 75 bold instead of doing the fake bold on there. And I would take that off. And there we go. So though you can have a lot of fun with Photoshop and words, if you have to do something quite large with wording or have more than a few sentences on a poster or a pamphlet or a menu, I would 100% move this to InDesign and work with type there. Illustrator does have more options than Photoshop, but InDesign is where you can really play with type and get many different results that are much stronger than what you can get here in Photoshop. But it also is the place where if you wanted a unique graphic like Total Eclipse and have an image in there, you want to come to Photoshop instead. So just remember, a few words here and there in Photoshop is okay, but we want to go to InDesign mostly for the rest of them. And that completes our Total Eclipse. I hope you enjoyed these lessons and that you try to work with them and experiment with them throughout your processes.